One of the most controversial things that I've done on the internet over the past 8 years is talk about how I charge my boyfriend rent. So today we're going to talk about how to have adult money conversations about adult money things like sharing living expenses and how to do it in a way where it can actually strengthen your relationship and everyone feels things are fair. Because if you don't figure it out, it's probably going to blow up in your face. Also, thank you to Ethos for sponsoring this video. Hi friends, I'm Sarah, also known as Budget Girl here on the internet, and I have been overly transparent about my money since starting on YouTube with $33,000 in debt almost 8 years ago. So I've clawed my way out of that, built an investing portfolio and now a real estate portfolio, and I have a net worth of over $200,000. My boyfriend, who I've been with for almost 5 years, Jacob, does not have those things. He is wonderful, but he is in student loan debt and he has very different financial priorities and is at a very different financial level than I am. And to be honest, most couples are not going to be perfectly paired when it comes to finances. One person might make more, one person might have debts, and that's just bound to cause potential issues within a relationship. We've all heard the statistic of the number one cause of divorce is fighting about money. And personally, if I, who has been as open as possible about money in my relationship since day one, can avoid that, that would be great. I get the most amusing comments on this, like to this day, about every week I get someone with a take on my living and money situation with my boyfriend, and that's interesting and totally fine. Most of them look something like this. You charge Jacob for rent, but you live together? There are a few comments that I've gotten. Why is he okay paying more rent than you? You charge your boyfriend to live with you? Nice girlfriend. He must be okay with being a doormat. If you love him, why would you charge him rent? You should have just bought the house together and put his name on it too. So greedy. Here's a really fun one from an account that's since been deleted. I'm just letting you know you come across as a raging... You clearly have no self-awareness. Enjoy putting your man to work. With your fat ass self, lucky you have a man. So here's the thing. I own the duplex that we live in, and I rent out the A unit to a fabulous renter who I adore, and I also rent out part of the B unit, which I live in. After paying off my student loan debt, starting to do some investing, and really kind of learning about house hacking, which is renting out a portion of your home or a multifamily property to pay your home expenses, I thought that that was a really, really cool way to build wealth. And I started saving for that. Jacob and I actually lived together before I bought this house 2 years ago, and we were splitting rent at an apartment that was about $800 a month. So we paid a little bit more than $500 each for the electricity, the internet, and our rent. They were actually going to increase the rent by almost $300 before I bought the house, and I was thrilled that I was able to find something in time, so I didn't have to sign another year lease for so much more money. Jacob knew that I was looking for a house to buy, and we had discussed that, yeah, he would want to move with me. And while we were doing that, we discussed what would be a fair breakdown of the costs of the new home. Now, like I said, when we were renting, we split everything 50-50. It made sense. We had comparable-ish salaries. He made a little bit less than me, but we both could afford to put together 50%. If you and your partner have discussed like a split based on the percentage of salary that you get or something like that, that's totally awesome and cool. But the point is that we had a frank and honest discussion about what each other could afford, because I didn't want to put him at a hardship to be able to move with me, and what he would be comfortable paying. That wasn't also a burden on me to then cover more than a fair share. When I first bought the house before I refinanced, I was paying $150 a month towards the mortgage on top of what my tenants, Jacob and the people in A unit, were paying. Since then, I've refinanced and I've raised the rent a little bit when I had a tenant change, and so I make money from it. But at the time, I was paying $140 and he was paying $500 a month. How did we come up with that number? We based it off of what he was paying at the previous place. He didn't want to stop living with me and go rent an apartment, which in this area costs more than $500 a month for anything decent. So what he's paying is slightly less than what he would pay elsewhere. He also gets use of the whole house, of course, and he has his own home office. We discussed a few scenarios that I think are incredibly key to figuring out a fair split that makes everyone happy. Before we get more into it, let's talk for a second about today's sponsor, Ethos. Much like buying a home or having money conversations with your partner, life insurance is one of those things that feels a little bit scary to do and a bit like you're inviting something bad to happen. But like most scary adult things like investing, emergency planning, and literally anything medical, you always end up feeling so proud and happy that you did it on the other side. Now that I have assets, property, and am in my 30s, I'm realizing that it's important for me to get life insurance. I don't want to leave my family with the debt on my home, and I want to make sure there's money to take care of things should anything happen to me. I am thrilled to work with today's video sponsor, Ethos, as they offer an easy way to get life insurance without the confusing, expensive, time-consuming, and prodding process many insurances require. Nearly half of Americans put off getting life insurance coverage they know that they need, in part because they're intimidated by the process. Women are also less likely to own life insurance, just 47% of women versus 58% of men. Ethos tries to make insurance fast, easy, and accessible to all by offering life insurance that you can apply for in as little as 10 minutes online or on your phone. They require no medical exams or blood tests. You just answer a few simple health questions and you can get covered in minutes. They partner with top-rated carriers and offer a variety of policies designed to give coverage options to as many people as possible and have no hidden fees or fine print. They're rated excellent by customers on Trustpilot and have an A+ rating from the BBB. Like many people, I was worried that life insurance would be too expensive to get. Ethos offers plans for as little as $7 per month, which is incredibly affordable for the financial peace of mind having life insurance can bring. And you'll feel great conquering one of life's scariest adult things. You can ride that high until your next dental visit or blood work appointment. If you'd like to learn more about Ethos and get a free personalized quote, check out my link below. We discussed whether he would pay a flat rate or half of whatever expenses came up. Now, as I mentioned, Jacob has some student loan debt that he's currently prioritizing financially. So originally on a good month, if we just split whatever was left of the mortgage and expenses for the house, he would only have to pay maybe $300 because that's what my mortgage amount was minus what my tenant in A was paying. But if any other house expenses came up, he'd be expected to contribute half to that as well. As I'm sure you guys know, one of the best things about renting is that your ceiling for how much you have to pay each month is your rent. Anything that comes up is the responsibility of your landlord. Whereas if you own a home, your mortgage amount is your floor, which means every single month you're responsible for your mortgage plus anything that comes up on top of that. And since during the past 2 years, I've had to replace the roof, get the drainage in the backyard fixed a couple of times. We had a flood in the kitchen. I had to rip out all of the floor, have flood people come in and dry it out, and then have new floor bought and installed. And we had to get a new fridge. This was close to $13,000 worth of stuff. Now, I had the savings for this because I prioritized as soon as I bought the house, building up a property emergency fund in addition to my personal emergency fund. It's part of being a good landlord and a good property owner to be prepared for things to happen because they will, and there's nobody to call. So if I'm responsible for all of the repairs, appliance failures, anything above the base mortgage price, I can handle that, but Jacob might not be able to on any given month. Neither of us found it necessarily fair that he might suddenly be on the hook for $1,000, which is half of the cost of the fridge, when his name isn't on the deed. So we decided collectively that he would pay a flat rent amount. We also talked about who would property manage the rental. Jacob is a pretty handy guy and he loves me, so he's willing to help me if suddenly the toilet in A breaks or we've had situations with like a garbage disposal or something. But we talked about it and decided that if he feels like helping, he can help. And if he doesn't, he doesn't. He doesn't get paid for it, except on one occasion when he did a ton of work, helping me dig a French drain, which was another cost. And he didn't get charged rent that month. All of the responsibilities essentially fell to me to manage the rental, which is fine. That's what I signed up for when I bought a multifamily property. We also talked about what would happen if we broke up. And much like a prenup where you kind of decide what will happen if the marriage were to end, in the beginning, we wanted to decide what would happen if we broke up while in the headspace of loving each other and not in any sort of like fear or anger. This also made him feel more secure because we outlined these in a lease. So I actually wrote my boyfriend a legal document and signed it outlining exactly what his rights were, how long he would have if we broke up to move out, etc. Because if we break up, I do get to keep the house, just obviously. We hope this won't happen, but we can both rest a little easier knowing that we have a plan if that were to happen where we would both be taking care of each other still. Divorce attorneys will tell you every single couple has a prenup. It's the standard divorce laws in your state. If you do a custom prenup, then you get to actually kind of look out for each other a little bit better. And as I'm sure you're probably curious, his lease is a month-to-month with no end date, no security deposit, no pet rent, and there's a 30-day notice to quit on the part of either party. On the other hand, what if we get married? Well, if we get married, I'm not going to make him pay rent anymore. He is, however, going to have to contribute to the mortgage. He would also own half the house if we combined our assets, so he would also take on about half the responsibilities. One really positive thing about this is that the rent money he's paying me is going into equity in the house. So he is helping me. I am helping him by providing a cheaper rent than he would get elsewhere. And if we actually get hitched, he'll have been like putting money into the kitty this whole time. That sounds bad. He'll have helped pay into the equity of the house that he'll then co-own. Personally, I would rather my rent money go to someone I love than some corporation. I think we're actually both really lucky that we can help each other out with our money goals. It honestly lifts both parties, and we both feel like it's a fair situation. The most important part of this arrangement was communication. We had several conversations about it over several weeks, and nothing was ever hidden about the money associated with the house. We didn't have some big powwow or anything, but we talked anytime we considered something about it over several conversations until we figured out something that we thought was really fair for both parties. It's so important to have these types of discussions with a partner when it comes to money and it comes to housing and shared expenses. If one person is contributing more than another and it hasn't been discussed, it can lead to resentment, insecurity, doubt, and just an uneven relationship in general. The way we have this set up, we both get to feel equal in our relationship as partners, even if we're not equal partners in the house. We both feel taken care of. But however you divide up the financial and personal responsibilities is going to be up to you and your partner. I honestly think keeping financial secrets from each other is a easy way to do a relationship. And I'm honestly so grateful to be with someone who's willing to talk candidly about financial stuff. He actually mentioned the other day when he was talking about his credit going up, like, you know, I guess if you live with Budget Girl for long enough, some of it's bound to rub off. And I was just like, yes, which I will credit myself. I didn't bonk him over the head with this type of stuff, but he's just kind of absorbed it over the years, and I'm always there to talk about money or offer suggestions if he wants. I knew immediately when we started dating that he would not be the type of man who I could like wrangle into changing his personal finance habits, that he would have to kind of come to it on his own. And it's been an effective strategy, and I think he appreciates it as well. Over the past year or so, he's actually even written several articles for budgetgirl.com, which just makes me incredibly happy. I'm a lucky girl. All right, I would love to know how you figured out how to split financial obligations or home ownership or any of these weird financial things with a partner that you have that isn't quite on the same financial footing as you. I'm not going to say a fun subject, it's a tricky subject, but if you communicate well, you can come out the other side a lot stronger for it. Tell me your money split situations, good or bad, below. Thank you again to Ethos for sponsoring this video. You can find them down below in the description box.